Okay, welcome to fermicg. Today I'm going to show you how to create this musical animation inside Blender. As you can see, all these cylinders are reacting to the beats of the music, and actually it's a very simple technique. You can create a lot of motion graphics with the musics inside Blender. And before jumping into the tutorial, I want to show you something. So actually in 2014, it means in 6 years ago, I created some tutorial like this. As you can see, this is actually reacting with the music and a lot of things doing color changing effects. Actually 6 years ago I created this. It's a bit difficult setup to create. If you follow this tutorial and recreate in 2.8 to the latest version, you will get some trouble, and actually the tutorial is not that much good. So I want to recreate these things. And also I created another tutorial 7 years ago, and 2013 you can see, and some kind of musical animations. We are going to create something in this, and why I show that, because I want you to understand that this is not a copy pasted tutorial. Actually I created 6 to 7 years ago all these things, so I just want to repeat these things. Okay, so we will jump to new scene, general, and don't save. We can delete all these things we don't need. Create add mesh plane, and actually you can change this value to maybe 20, and I will show you wireframe so we can see what's going on. So go to edit mode, and the face mode, right click, subdivide, make it 20. So it's not necessary, but still we can make this so you can understand how these things work. It's not necessary to subdivide, but still we keep in this way. Okay, go back to object mode. So we create our plane. You can rename it to grid, so just arrange things. And we need to create a cylinder. You can have this much vertices if you want, or you can reduce that, or that depends on your radius. You can make 0.1, so it will be very small, as you can see. Now right click, you make shade smooth, so it will get a smooth shading. Okay, now we can just remove this wireframe. Okay, now go to front view. As you can see, this let's make this one also. As you can see, our object is not sitting properly in the ground, so we can move this one, and the cylinder object mode, move this up. And also if we create something with these settings, this is going to make some trouble, so we need to change this is actually called the pivot. We need to fix this pivot into the bottom of this area. So in order to make that, right click, you need to use set origin. So I'm just using another Blender version, so a little bit changed here, so I'm just confused. So go to set origin, use origin to 3D cursor. So your object axis or the pivot is or the origin is changed to the bottom of the mesh, so it's sit in the grid. Now we can use anything for this. So if we change and make the instancing, it will properly sit on top of this object. So first of all, we need to create a shader so we can see how things work. So create new one. You can change it to cylinder, anything, just use nodes here. You can use a base color to red or anything, not necessary. You can just create, and now we are in shaded mode. Okay, now we are going to create some particles for this. So select the grid, actually the plane, so the mode, so you can see I'm selecting this grid. Okay, So make this wireframe to turn off, so you can see I'm selecting the grid, and you need to go here. You can see where the particles, this one they changed but this particle properties, create new particle, so click that. Little bit time because we are doing something, so you can change this to grid particles, so it will be arranged everything. You can use anything here, so number of particles and everything. If you play the scene, there will be some particles jumping around. We need to fix that. Before fixing that, I will show you how to make this cylinder instancing in the particles. So we need to use render, so it's changed render as hello. We change this to object, so it will be disappeared from the viewport. I mean, we need to select the object, or maybe pick the cylinder, so it will be shown here. And now we can just turn off cylinder here. Now the problem is actually the particles are very small, so because the scale ratio is very small, we just make 1, so it will be emitting something like this. Actually we have a lot of problem because it's emitting downwards. Actually we don't need that. We can fix just by adjusting some parameter. So I'm going to use this to shut this off, the render to off, and there is something on number. We are not going to change anything now. We will use, so you can see the emit from face. We will change all these things later. So actually we are going to change all these settings for the emission, but before jumping into that, we can turn this off or shut this off and go to the velocity. See, there is one thing called normal. We need to make it 0, so it will be in the up axis. So you can see now it's coming from up and jumping down. Now there is this thing called physics. So there maybe no, sorry, for physics it should be in the field weights. So you need to change this gravity to 0, and if we play, all objects will be sitting in the top. Now we are going to use, we change all these things. I'm going to use this emission tab, and there is number, seed, frame start, frame end. We don't need to emit all these particles all the time, so we just use 1, so your particle will be sitting all the time, and we can increase the lifetime. So it is 50 now. I'm going to increase to 1000, so we can actually change our our end frame to 1000, also the render frame. So actually we can have that much frames, and jump back to our particle settings. So we have number, we change the start and end value to 1, that is the first frame, and lifetime to 1000, that for the particles. Don't mess with anything, and we need to change this one. We can see the source, so it is actually set from emit frame faces. You can change to vertex, so it will arrange with the vertices, and volume, and it will arrange with the actual volume. But you can also use hair, but we are not going to mess with those things. We just use face, and you can see there is random order, even distribution, and jittered. You can see this thing, distribution, and there is a particle per face value. You can arrange these things. If you make it 1, so it will be actually the vertices value. So each, as you can see, this will be in the center of the faces. So you can adjust that if you want to create some something arranged in this kind of way, so arranged in the face. I'm just going to more detail about these things, but we can skip that. So we don't need to use the face particle faces per face. Just keep it that one and change this one distribution to, you can use a grid value. So there will be the resolution you can increase, so that will increase our particles or the mesh. As you can see, it's now normally arranged. Now we need to create this one. You can click the hexagonal grid, so it will arrange in hexagonal way, so you can decrease and see these things works or something like this. So you can adjust that. Okay, and now we created our particles. It is just time to add some shading. There are some random shading. So we can see how the particles look before adding the music. So click the cylinder, the actual cylinder, go to the material. We actually created our materials here. You can go to shading, click that. Okay, I'm going to use this one, make it okay. Now you can see what's going on. So this is actual material, the red material. You can see, you can change color, any color you want. So I just want to show you this actual material. So you go to use add, search here, you need to use object info. Object info, click that, it will be added here. So we have a lot of options here, object index, random. So you can play with the settings. So if you click the random to the base color, so it will change white to black area. So it depending on the random, and you can make that disappear. And you can use object index to base color. That will be won't have any effect because we are using actually instanced particles. So you can just use this one. Okay, now we need to create random colors for this object. In order to do that, you can create different settings. You can add RAMs and mix shaders. I'm just going to be very simple setup. I will discuss the complex node setup in the later tutorials. So we will use we'll use a hue saturation value. Click that and place here. Okay, now it's connected, the random value collected to color. We don't need this, we can delete this. Okay, now this connects the random to hue. There is no change in the viewport color because we don't have any actual hue color here. So we need to change this one back to red, and you can see now we have random color. You can change all these things, a different color, or you can fix different kind of effects, whichever color. I'm just making it to red, and actually you can change all these settings. If you want some more adjustment, you can mix this random to the factor value, so that you will add on top of this color, so you can see the difference. So if I make this one off, so it's more random. So if you want that, or you can add, or just the random value for only the red you can use, so it will be more towards the red. Okay, you can also mix with the different textures. If you want, you can add texture values, and you can play with those settings here, and that will give you more interesting result that we can discuss in the later tutorial. Just we are going to create some animation for the music. Okay, in order to do that, we need to select a sound file. So we can skip this one, make back to the layout. So we have this one just sitting doing nothing. So we need to create, add, and there will be a speaker tab. Just use that, and you can see there is some settings here. Then there is a music icon. You can select that and press open. So you need to use an MP3. I think we will also work. Go to the downloads actually, and I'm going to use this one, Point Green Get Down. That is actually downloaded from YouTube. You can get that also. So if I play, okay, now you can hear the voice, and there is a, if you the voice is very low, you can adjust the attenuation. You can change the attenuation to 0, and sometimes if you're far away from the scene, and the attenuation will cause some trouble. Actually, it's not working like that. Maybe it creates some trouble. I don't know, and the previous scene is created. So just make it 0. And now we need to use that sound file to drive the animation. How we are going to create that? So again, select the grid. Actually, this is our particle. Go to the particle settings. You can just turn all this off, and you need to find the textures. Please make sure you have to select the textures tab inside the particle settings, not from the texture properties. Okay, you have to click the particle settings and find the texture. So there will be some texture. You can select, create a new one, and that will call texture. You can rename it. You can add a scale. Okay, now we need to click this button, so it will jump to the texture. Now we created our texture here, so it is asking for which texture or what kind of textures to use. You need to click this image or movie and select. If you have different images you can use, but I'm just going to use, you can use any kind of images here. You can use noise, clouds. I'm going to just use Voronoi. Okay, nothing happened here, so we won't change anything from here. First we need to find this one called influence. It's actually influencing the time. We can change that. If you press the lifetime, nothing happened, but if you play, so nothing happened, because actually we have a large lifetime. You can adjust the density. Now you can see nothing happens, but still no animation here, but the density of the particle is changed. We don't need the density, actually we are going to use the size value. So now you can see some sort of size option here. Okay, now we can change the distance metric to distance squared. All these things you can change. You can play with the different values, and you have to make to the 0 frame all the time, so that will change something. And also you can increase the size value. Okay, so now it's created some interesting effects. So now we need to create the animation, but if you play, there is no animation. In order to get that animation, we are going to use this area, mapping area. Okay, now if I make the offset value, it's creating some animations. You can either change that offset or the Y offset, how you want to create it. You can create both offset values. You can create animation from that. I can change the Z value also, so that will create this kind of waving information. You can choose whichever options you want. You can mix 3 things, so you can adjust the size value also. I'm going to use the Y value. You can see this button. This is actually animate property. Click that. That will create a keyframe at the first frame. Now we need to jump to the animation. Okay, now we are going to mix this two with the sound property. So there is some problem here. The problem is that there is no option for selecting our sound. It is because we need to change this dop sheet. Actually, you can see this dop sheet. You need to click this button and change to graph editor. So that will give you more options. You go to key. Now you can see a lot of options here. Just use bake sound to F curve. Select that and that will ask for the sound. So select, go to downloads, select the same sound file, point green, get down mp3. We are not going to change anything. You can always change this frequency if you want some sort of special kind of animation. You can select all these things. You just experiment with that. You can cut down the highest frequency, lowest frequency, attack time, release time. You can adjust all these properties. So keep experimenting, change different values and create more scenes and experiment. And depending on the sound, you have to adjust these settings, but I'm not going to change anything. I'm just using the sound as it is. So bake sound to F curve, so that will be baked here. Now if you play, see. Okay, now jump back to layout mode. Now we can actually see. That's it. You can create. So that's it. You can create interesting sound animations within Blender, just simply following this tutorial. And I will put a link to download this scene file also. You can get that. No need to subscribe anything. Just download and play with. Okay, thank you for watching fermicg. If you like this video, please make a comment and press the like button and also subscribe. And I am asking you to give comments, honest opinion about this tutorial, how you like it or not. If you don't like, just comment it. If you like it, comment it. If you find this useful or boring, just comment it, so I can make much better tutorials. Thank you for watching fermicg and have a nice day. Be safe always.